Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day-to-day lives. Let's start with the video. Okay, I'm 30, female, in a big family mess. And it's a little hard to follow, but I hope I can get some advice from you all and decide if I've acted in the wrong way. Okay, for a little background, I'm from a big family of 5 siblings. I have my oldest brother, Drake, an older sister, Caroline. Next in the birth order is me and my twin sister, Jules. And then we also have a younger brother, Todd. So, all in all, I have 2 brothers, an older sister, plus my twin sister. Our family has some pretty messy dynamics because my twin sister has an addiction problem that has caused a lot of strain on our family. Jules is known for not telling the truth at times and has even stolen money from some of us, so a lot of the people in my family don't interact with her anymore. I still do because obviously that twin bond is very strong, and I can't just cut someone out of my life who I literally share the same DNA with. But I know that she is a complicated person, and our relationship can be complicated too. We don't see each other very often because she lives out of state. She moved in with our older sister in Washington when we were in high school, and she was getting into lots of trouble. Our parents were so frustrated with her that they were thinking about sending her off to boarding school, but instead, she convinced them that she could turn her life around by going to live with Caroline and her husband. Normally, you might think this sounds like a terrible and crazy plan, but my parents were at their wits' end and needed a break. They hoped that Caroline would be able to straighten her up. Poor Caroline was pregnant with their oldest child at the time and still working full time as a teacher. So it was absolutely exhausting to take Jules in and deal with her bad behavior. On top of that, my brother in law is a doctor and he was doing his residency at the time. So he was working long hours and very stressed. Jules would come back to their house late at night from partying and wake up Caroline, or bring home random guys that our brother in law would cross paths with awkwardly in the hallway of his own home at 3 a.m. while he was getting ready for another shift at the hospital. Needless to say, it was not working out for them to host Jules long term. My brother in law, especially, did not have a good relationship with her and felt like he had been playing in his own home. They kicked her out in the most gentle way they could muster, but at the end of the day, she was still kicked out. So that bridge was burned. Then, around 2014, my younger brother had decided to go off to his first year of college in Washington, not far from where Caroline and her husband lived. Jules had basically been living out of her car, but once Todd was there for school, she would go crash at his dorm. This went on for a couple of years, and he mostly didn't mind, or at least couldn't bring himself to speak up if he did. But then Todd met his now wife, and they got an apartment together, and our future sister-in-law was not loving how Jules never cleaned up after herself and crashed their dinners without ever volunteering to pay for food. She finally put her foot down and told Jules she wasn't welcome at their house anymore. At this point, Todd and her were married and had their own home in Washington. Another bridge burned. Despite this whole dramatic deal, she stayed in Washington and has bounced around from staying in different friends' apartments to sleeping on the streets. She has even been to jail for a year on petty theft charges, but is out now. Even though Jules is no longer in contact with my brother and sister, she talks to me on the phone about once a month. I know from our chats that she has been trying to fix her life and get treatment, although she isn't perfect. What happened recently with our family probably set her back big time and has me all torn up because I just don't know who to believe or whose side to take. A month ago, I went out to Washington to visit my siblings and check on Jules. I stayed at Todd and his wife's house. It was a lovely trip, but I actually never even met up with Jules because she wouldn't return my calls while I was there, and no one knew for sure where she was living. I left to go back home on a Sunday morning, and by Sunday afternoon, my sister-in-law was calling me absolutely livid. It completely caught me off guard because we had just had a lovely visit together. But there she was, yelling at me over the phone and demanding to know what I was doing. She said she was disgusted with me and calling the cops. I was so confused and told her I was just cleaning my apartment and doing some laundry since getting home from my trip. She paused and said, "So, you're not in my house?" She was looking right at the baby monitor video, and it looked like I was in the room going through their drawers. Specifically, the top drawer that had all their important documents and money. Well, spoiler alert, it was Jules. My sister-in-law was just about to call the cops, but I convinced her not to. I know Jules screws up a lot, but I still wanted to help. I knew breaking and entering would be a violation of her parole, and I couldn't stand to see her go back to jail over this mistake. I at least needed to hear from her directly about what was going on. My sister-in-law yelled through the mic on the baby monitor that she needed to drop the money and get out or else she'd call the cops. As Jules was running out, I called her. Surprisingly, she answered, out of breath and sounding scared. I told her how disappointed I was in her and that she needed to get help. That's when she told me that this was different and that she wasn't stealing money from them. She told me that our brother-in-law, my sister Caroline's husband, had put her up to it. Apparently, the last time she was in the hospital for addiction treatment, he came down to her room. She thought at first he just wanted to visit her. But she was confused by this because he really didn't like her since kicking her out of their house. Instead, he told her that he needed a favor from her and would pay her $10,000 if she could help him out. He wanted her to break into our brother's house and steal the bank account documents he had for his small business. My brother-in-law and brother were in business together on the side selling medical equipment. Since my brother-in-law works at the hospital, it was the perfect business for him. But why would he want to steal the documents? Something wasn't right. And for $10,000? That is a huge sum of money. I know that I could just call my siblings and fill them in on all of this, but I'd rather do some investigating myself. Something feels really wrong to me. AITA if I take my twin sister's side and snoop in my siblings' family business? A lot has happened since my last post, and I have answers for you guys. I decided to do some digging, and what I found shocked me. It turns out my brother-in-law has been using his side business with my brother to launder money without my brother knowing. He has been stealing large quantities of drugs from the hospital he works at and selling them to the cartel. And that money then goes through the medical equipment business he has with my brother to make it all look legit if the authorities ever investigate. He needed the documents from my brother's bank account because my brother handles all of their finances, and my brother-in-law is trying to keep this hidden from him. He doesn't want my brother to know what he's doing because he knows that Todd would never agree with it. And now my sister Jules is considering going into business with him too because, of course, she needs money and doesn't care what she has to do to get it. I have to decide if I'm going to tell my brother or not. Part of me is scared of my brother-in-law now and crossing him. It seems like he will go to great lengths for money. I don't want to find out the hard way just how far he'll go. The more I thought about it, the more I realized I have to get Jules away from this situation. She has made so many bad decisions in her life, but nothing like the magnitude of what it will be if she gets involved with this. So I've rented a house for us and convinced her to come to live with me and start fresh. I don't think I'm going to intervene in any way with what my brother-in-law is doing, but I am going to let my sister and brother know what is going on so that they can make their own decisions. Thank you, everybody, for your advice and concerns. Jules and I are doing great. She has been clean this whole time since moving away from Washington and even started classes at the community college while she works a part-time job. I did tell my sister and brother know what we found out about our brother-in-law and his business. My brother was shocked, but I think my sister knew all along. It's actually caused a lot of strife in our family because my brother quit business with him, but my sister is sticking by her husband's side. I can't help but feel like it's because she likes all the money coming in. I just pray that my nieces and nephews are safe, even with him being involved in dangerous illegal things. Overall, though, this whole mess was worth it to get Jules out of a bad situation and have a fresh start. I'm so glad to have my twin back. Wow, NTA. And really, you are an angel for helping your twin sister even when she had been given so many chances in the past. You were right to get involved, and I'm so happy things worked out this way. You can't control your brother-in-law's actions. I would call the cops and tell them everything you know to protect your nieces and nephews from the terrible life choices he is making. I am marrying my brother's best friend. When my partner and I told my brother we were dating, he was happy. He was happy that his best friend and his favorite sibling were together. But when we told him we got engaged, things changed. He became sour and didn't even congratulate us. Throughout the entire wedding planning process, he made negative comments about everything and kept making jokes about what a terrible wife I'll be and that my partner should run while he can. My family and my partner all acted as if he was just joking. When we were 3 weeks out from my wedding, my brother asked me to come over to his place by myself. When I got there, he told me I needed to cancel the wedding. He kept saying he can't tell me why. I just need to cancel it. I was getting worried. Maybe he knew something about my fiancé. Maybe he was protecting me. But he denied it. He said my fiancé is great, but I need to cancel it. As a joke, I said it sounds like you're in love with him and admitted that he is. I was taken aback and didn't know what to say. So I told him he was uninvited from the wedding and left. When my family and my fiancé's family found out, I uninvited him. He told them it was because he insulted me. So everyone thought I was just being dramatic and I'll get over it. It's now a week away from the wedding, and my fiancé keeps telling me to call my brother and sort it out. He says it's now getting ridiculous and he needs his best man. My family is calling me immature and keeps telling me to get over it, even though they don't know the full story. I'm so conflicted. I would never get with someone my siblings have romantic feelings for, but now it's too late. I love my fiancé. We have a life together and we are planning our future. I can't just cancel it all. I am also not going to out my brother to everyone. I'm not a horrible person, but I feel so guilty. Should I just let him come and be miserable at the wedding, or should I continue to be the a-hole to the rest of our family and keep him away? NTA, but I would tell your fiancé. Ultimately, who you invite to your wedding is your call. But if you're pulling your fiancé's best man from the wedding, then I think they deserve a reason. The other thing is, if you don't budge, you're almost surely going to run your relationship with your brother to the ground and also have a really rough start to your marriage. It'd probably do everyone good to try to work things out, even bring in a counselor if necessary. Things might not be the same, but at the very least, they wouldn't be volatile. Good luck. NTA, because your brother has created an impossible situation for you. I also don't think you're an AH for uninviting him. If he's adamant that you cancel the wedding, how do you know he'll behave during the wedding and not try and sabotage it in some way? Your brother has forced your hand to make you need to maybe tell someone. I wholeheartedly agree that no one should out anyone, but your brother hasn't been reasonable here. This isn't a normal situation. At the very least, start by telling your OH that your brother insisted that you cancel the wedding. Then he went on and on about it. That might be enough to make your OH wonder if your brother should really be there. He might even reach out to your brother and insist on a reason. That could get your brother to back down and you won't have outed him. However, if your OH doesn't think there's any concern in your brother insisting you cancel the wedding, then you should tell your OH but swear him to secrecy. At least you will have one person on your side who understands why you did what you did, even if he ultimately says that your brother should be invited again. He could then confirm to your family that you had a good reason for uninviting him and that they should back off a bit. If you don't do anything here, your family is going to think you're crazy or really unreasonable, and that will be a terrible start to your future. No NTA. You may still want to consider talking to your brother again and see if you can work it out with him, as he surely must now understand that there is no romantic future with your fiancé. So perhaps you can get in a better place with him. Either way, though, you are NTA, and thank you for not outing him even under these circumstances. Good luck and congratulations on your wedding. Me and my wife have been married for 10 years and have 3 kids together. We both have always been a little on the chubby side, but don't get me wrong, because my wife is absolutely gorgeous. In the middle of COVID, I saw the numbers about how it hit overweight people harder than others, and I started eating right, running, and put a weight bench in the garage. I only dropped like 30 pounds, but in the past 2 years, I've gone from being afraid of having my shirt off at the pool to being proud of myself in the mirror. So boom, Halloween hits. I had been hyped all month because I had like a Roman gladiator type costume to wear out with the kids. We always all wear costumes. I get dressed and we are both getting the kids ready, and she doesn't even put on her robe to be like a fortune teller. And then she grabs the keys and says, "Everyone ready?" It was like 68 degrees Fahrenheit out and absolutely beautiful to walk in our little neighborhood. I tell her the kids and I wanted to walk as we are standing in the driveway ready to go. She kind of stamps her foot and just goes back inside. I and the kids go out and have a blast. They were all some variant of a warrior. So we looked pretty cool with our swords, marching and collecting candy. One of the houses had a little haunted garage and toys to play with. We stopped there for a bit and I had a few drinks to finish the night, exchanged numbers with the family that lives there, and headed home. I get back home, and after the kids get to bed, my wife explodes on me saying I smell like tequila. And ever since I lost weight, I don't do the same things I used to do. We used to eat ice cream every single Friday, like big Cold Stone cups. Now it's like once every few months. She even brought up the phone number because it was written down and I left it on the counter since I forgot my phone when we left. It very clearly had the couple's name on it, so it's not like it was from some floozy. Then she complains we all could have totally driven, and I told her just because she doesn't want to better herself, she didn't have to make me and the kids suffer. It was harsh, but I felt like I was being attacked for no reason. So AITA? NTA. She's feeling insecure because your confidence has gone up since starting to work out, eat better. She wanted you to choose her by choosing to drive and thinks that it's an indicator of how life will be going forward. You'll stop choosing her and choose the people down the street, or the next town over, or choose to move out and be with someone in better shape. Spend some time with your wife and make her feel special. She sounds scared of losing you and the life you have. ESH. Either one of you could have stepped up and actually communicated whether you were going to walk or drive, or both, to trick or treat. You went out and left your phone, so she couldn't even contact you and ask where you were or if you wanted her to drive out and join you. You couldn't tell her, hey, we're hanging out with ex-neighbors and having a drink. You completely cut her off from Halloween with you and your guys' kids. Not cool. Sounds like this has been brewing for a while with both of you. Her comments about the two of you not doing things together anymore, your comments about how she doesn't want to better herself. You say you still think she's absolutely gorgeous, but you seem to resent her for not losing weight and getting in shape too. You and the kids didn't have to suffer in any way. You chose to leave her behind. NTA. I understand driving if you're taking the kids to a different neighborhood or if it's raining. But to just go through your own neighborhood on a nice evening? No. In fact, I and my neighbors would be really annoyed if you were handing out candy and there was a solid stream of SUVs pulling up in front of our driveways, coming from no further than around the block. No one needs that kind of pointless traffic jam.